7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, November 7th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Wall Street Journal headline, Supreme Court appears skeptical of Trump's tariffs. President Trump's global tariffs appeared to be on shaky ground after the Supreme Court justices expressed skepticism during a hearing on Wednesday about his authority to impose sweeping measures on countries around the world. Trump administration's top lawyer faced sharp questioning, including from some members of the court's conservative wing. During the hearings, lawyers representing the tariff challengers were also pressed by some justices on what kind of limitations courts could impose on core presidential powers. Administration officials, including Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, were among those in the audience, even as President Trump opted not to attend. The hearing ran nearly 3 hours in what has become one of the most consequential economic and political cases to come before the high court in decades. The 9 justices are weighing whether the president lawfully invoked his authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to levy the global tariffs without Congress's approval, as well as a set of tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico related to fentanyl. Challengers, a group of small businesses and states, say he exceeded his legal powers. Lower courts have agreed, and now it's up to the Supreme Court to decide the ultimate fate of a cornerstone of the president's agenda. All right, so here, what's at stake here? Well, is a tariff considered a tax? If the tariff is considered a tax, that would constitutionally fall under Congress. Is the tariff part of foreign policy negotiation? Well, that would fall under the executive. So where do you put it? And does this law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the right law for a president to be able to claim with regards to tariffs? And here's where I'm torn on it. One, I don't like taxes. I hate taxes. Okay? And I understand that, according to some, tariffs are seen as a tax upon the end user because it's applied on the producer, that's then passed along, similar to minimum wage. So I think it becomes a tax. So can I see it falling under Congress? Yes. At the same time, I look at where we are as a nation with regards to our manufacturing capabilities. And I don't think that the global industrial market has been kind to the United States. I think oftentimes you end up with rigged systems like what's coming out of China. And as a result, the manufacturing base in America has nearly completely collapsed. So Donald Trump, seeking to rectify the problems there with the global market, implementing tariffs to bring manufacturing back to the United States, I see that as a good thing. Do I think Congress is a place where we could trust for good debate to come from and tariffs to be implemented? No. Evidence number one, example number one, they're not even open right now. They can't even figure that out. So we expect the 435 members of Congress and the 100 senators to get together to figure out a global tariff scheme with regards to chicken from Mexico, for instance? Give me a break. They couldn't figure that out. They can't even keep the lights on in Congress right now. So we're facing a national emergency with regards to manufacturing as a result of the global economic system that takes place there. President's trying to step in to address that. Congress is inept, can't get anything done besides maybe drive up more debt and name some post offices. And we expect them to be able to put together a scheme that could help Americans with regards to global tariffs. Give me a break. So I'm torn here. Bill, you think tariffs should reside entirely with Congress. What do you think?
Yeah, I think tariffs reside entirely with Congress. So that's how I'm reading the law, the rule. And I think that Donald Trump has overstepped the boundaries of presidential authority when he's trying to use the law that is centered around emergencies in this way. And I don't think that in any way, shape, or form that the country was set up so that on the whim of the president, these type of tax policies can be enacted. One of the things that is most important in this conversation is to remember that because an advertisement hurt Trump's feelings, he increased tariffs from Canada because his feelings were hurt. Not because of manufacturing job loss, not because of anything else that he has claimed about why tariffs are important. They didn't add, he didn't like it, 10% tariff. If we are saying that our economic policy and foreign policy is going to be driven on the emotional whims of the president, I got a hell of a lot of questions that follow after that. Because that's something.
My question after that is, you want to hand it to the emotional whims of 435 people.
Here's the thing.
Would include heroin Barbie.
Here's the thing.
Brittany Pedersen.
Here's the idea, though. That involves all 400 people. And so what I'm saying is involved therein as far as groupthink and the fact that we have so many people, the chances are that we get this kind of a boneheaded economic policy that we're going to raise tariffs because our fifis are hurt. It wouldn't happen based on 400 people. That's kind of the check that is put inside of the system so that something doesn't happen like this. That's why Congress has the power to tax, because they're the most respondent representative of the people in many ways. And that's why they have that, because then you're not purview to the whims of a monarch deciding who to tax, where, and when based on feelings getting hurt.
So help me understand what America looks like under that. Okay, so from my perspective, if that's the way we're going to set it up with regards to tariffs, you're not going to end up with tariffs, right? Because how you get, I mean, you can't get the government open at this point, right? They can't figure that out. So you think they're going to figure out the nuances of chicken meat tariffs coming from each particular country. So I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe you think it can, but please explain to me how you think Congress can put together a tariff scheme. And so maybe we just don't go with tariffs. If that's the case, then the United States continues to become consumer-oriented with very little manufacturing because it can't compete against a heavily subsidized, for instance, manufacturing regime coming out of China that artificially lowers the cost. So what does America look like if the power for tariffs lies solely with Congress?
America looks like what it has since our founding. It's nothing new. The idea is it doesn't change anything, and America has gotten to this position in the world under that system. So just because Donald Trump doesn't get to do what he wants right now isn't a reason to break the system. I'm not going to play on the whims of a wannabe authoritarian. I'm not going to give in and say.
So no manufacturing.
What do you mean no manufacturing?
That's where we were prior to Trump. I mean, that's what Trump's trying to use tariffs. I mean, steel manufacturing is on its way out.
Is he?
I mean, do you think the United States has a great manufacturing base right now?
No, I don't. But is he using this?
But you just say we're going to continue with the way things are going.
Wait, but hang on a sec.
So why not just embrace that? Why not just be like, yeah, you know what?
Well,
we're done with manufacturing in this country.
This is the idea. You're talking about the idea that there are only two choices. It's either we must give Trump the power that he seeks in order to set all these tariffs, or we've got to continue and nothing ever gets any better. That's a false dilemma. I mean, the people in Congress, the people in Congress could get their act together. And in the past, people in Congress have gotten their act together. I'm also not in favor of large-scale tariffs. And I don't think they do what Donald Trump says they are. And what I'm saying is the idea of bringing manufacturing back. Where is it? Where are the manufacturing jobs? And here's the reason why.
They're on the way back.
They're not.
No, they're totally coming back.
No, they're not. No,
yes.
No, we've lost manufacturing
Honda,
jobs.
You have lots of people trying to reestablish these.
We have lost manufacturing jobs since he took office. We are at a deficit. He is in a minus category based on manufacturing jobs. And here's the reason. These tariffs can do one thing. And Donald Trump talks about the idea that we can raise revenue and bring jobs back. They cannot. They have to do one or the other. They cannot do both. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to raise revenue with the tariffs, that means the manufacturing jobs are not coming back because we're paying the tariffs. If we lower the revenue from tariffs, then you can see manufacturing jobs coming back. But right now, we are seeing an increase. And Donald Trump himself has bragged about the vast increase, multiple times over, of how much money we are deriving from tariffs. That in and of itself disproves his claim that this brings manufacturing jobs back. You can't have both. It can't provide jobs and raise revenue. It can't functionally. One or the other. And right now, it's revenue.
I don't understand that delineation. Why?
Because... Okay, we'll walk through it again.
Yeah.
If tariff revenue is raising, that means we are still importing the goods, meaning we're not making them here. If tariff revenue falls, that's because we manufacture more of the goods in America. Right now, tariff revenue is increasing rapidly, and Donald Trump brags about it. So it can do one or the other.
But when
that's
it. And you don't think that would then force manufacturers to consider rebuilding jobs here in America? They're having to pay higher tariffs?
But
I mean, that's the plan,
right?
Right? So
wait, hold on.
It seems to me like just because it didn't happen quickly.
You're wrong about who's paying the tariffs. The consumer pays the tariffs. The end consumer pays the tariffs.
So
it's a tax.
And when the consumer doesn't want to purchase an item because it's now more expensive, right? Because the tariff's been added to it. So the consumer goes, you know what, I can go without it.
Yeah.
So you don't think that sends a signal in the marketplace that the producer has to figure out a new way forward?
No, not necessarily. And it depends. It depends on what it is. And here's the idea. But the idea is if we saw the manufacturing jobs are not coming back, we don't see them being set up. We have a deficit of manufacturing jobs since the beginning of the year under Donald Trump. We had a deficit in manufacturing jobs last time he tried this in his first administration. This was already proven. His economic plan was already proven to not bring manufacturing jobs back. And he tried it again.
It seems like because it's not happening fast enough. But I mean, NAFTA didn't collapse the manufacturing jobs in America overnight. It did quickly, but it took a few years to do so. But what I don't understand, though, is you're looking at Congress and its failures right now. Like it can't even figure out how to keep the government running. And you go, I want the power to negotiate tariffs with every country out there across thousands, if not millions of products. We're going to put that with those people? So I think I'm right in saying you're just not going to end up with tariffs. And if you don't end up with tariffs, okay, I understand. But how is that any different than we were the last 2 or 3 decades, where you have a total collapse of manufacturing taking place and almost an entire economy based on consumption? Best example in my mind, you have a basement full of Chinese crap, but no one can get a manufacturing job anymore. So how do you address that? All I heard from you was, we're just going to go back to the way things are.
And again, the way things are gave the U.S. the largest GDP, the best standard of living,
so
access to goods
then.
and services.
No complaints then.
We're
just going to go back.
Because I think it's moved. I think the idea of being able to manufacture things here that will be at an affordable level for the average American consumer has passed. I don't think we can do that in many cases. I think there are going to be certain circumstances in which we can manufacture certain products, and there are a bunch of companies that do that. Companies that make everything from hats to shirts to socks to knives. There are a lot of those. But those large-scale manufacturing, probably not. In fact, what we looked at under NAFTA, and you said, it collapsed the manufacturing, I would somewhat disagree, because what we've seen is an integration between Canada, U.S., and Mexico based on automotive production. And what you had was where it was advantageous to produce it in Canada, we produced it in Canada. Where it was advantageous here in America, we did it here. And then when it was advantageous in Mexico, we did it there and integrated the entire line of production to go back and forth over borders. And then Trump changed that as well. That was an example of what should happen.
So you're a globalist when it comes to trade.
Yes.
And
which is oddly where the Republican Party was a number of years ago, which is weird because it would put me directly in the camp of being a Republican.
We're looking at the state of our nation and going, this isn't working.
What isn't working? What is the what that isn't working?
I'm really happy we're here. I'm really happy we're here because I don't want to hear complaints about not able to make a living wage, not being able to buy a starter house, Americans being more depressed than they've ever been in this country, more obese, more dependent upon the government, because I just heard from you what is not working. So everything's great.
Are you
We're
talking
fine.
about?
We're
Are
just
you
going to
talking about?
continue.
Wait, hang on
That becomes your argument, Bill, that we're just going to go right back to the way it was prior to Trump. And, you're going to get toilet paper dropped off via Amazon. But I don't want to hear complaints then. I don't want to hear complaints about Jeff Bezos. You just told me everything's great.
No, that's not what I said.
Yes,
I didn't say.
That's literally what you just said, Bill.
No, I didn't. But here, let's walk through it. Let's walk through it very slowly. No. What I'm pushing back on is the idea that bringing manufacturing jobs back here is necessarily going to make things, quote, better. And what I mean by that is the large-scale manufacturing, the price in which you'd have to pay, the wages in which you have to pay is something that would be untenable for the vast majority in the American economy. How much pushback do we get about raising minimum wage? Those manufacturing jobs would have to have a much higher wage. And the other part is we're not going to bring back individual people jobs. You're not going to have an assembly line manned by people. It's going to be assembly line of computers and robots and a few people doing the technology and monitoring over the top of it. That's what you're going to have. It's not going to be this great employment boom inside of America where it's going to be like it was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's not going to happen. That's just simply not it. And that's the issue. And I don't believe that the affordability crisis in America is tied to manufacturing. That seems to be the connection you're trying to make. And I don't see that connection. That's why. That's what I'm pushing back on.
I think you've made a fine argument that if we go back on this, we're going to be right back where we were 10, 15 years ago. And there's nothing that can be done about it.
It's not a matter of nothing can be done about it, but I'm
Okay,
just saying.
so what
But
do
I'm
we
saying
do?
this. I'm saying this is the wrong way to do it.
So what do we need? What do we need to do?
That is going to be something that we can discuss over the course of the hour.
Okay.
Not something we need to do.
All
We
right.
got to get to Blake.
All right. I don't hear anything other than we're just going to go back to the way it was. Get used to it. The world's changed. You're going to have tons of cheap Chinese crap, and you're not going to make a living wage because there's no manufacturing here.
Did you just say we need a living wage?
And
That's
I
interesting.
think
We'll come back to that later.
I'm just using your language.
We'll come back
I'm
to
using
that.
your language that I think
Is that a pro?
Are
Are you
think
looking
you
for?
have,
Are you looking for this to be a living
I don't think you have a vision
wage?
forward. Donald Trump's trying to change things here, and really the only opposition to it is that it's Donald Trump. All
Remember, shooting a hole in the boat is a change. Doesn't mean it works.
right. Well, it seems like the boat's already sinking. All right, let's get to news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF, good morning. 34 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 64 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, DIA will see flight reductions starting today as the FAA takes action to maintain safety during the ongoing Schumer shutdown. Here's a DIA traveler.
I'm actually traveling in 2 weeks, and I'm worried about there's going to be some lines.
Airlines are cutting flights by 4% today, gradually increasing to a 10% reduction into next week due to staffing shortages from unpaid air traffic controllers. Officials stress flying remains safe, but passengers are urged to check their schedules as United has already started adjusting flights and offering refunds for impacted trips. Denver Mayor Johnston and Governor Polis are calling on the federal government to end the shutdown. So get on the horn and tell the Dems to vote for the CR. You can do that. Have you done that yet? No, you haven't done that. The death toll in the UPS plane crash horrific crash in Louisville has risen to at least 13. 9 people still remain missing as crews search for debris. Several people fell mildly ill after a suspicious package was opened Thursday at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. The package contained an unknown white powder and political propaganda. The base was temporarily locked down, and the investigation is ongoing. 2 buildings were evacuated. Joint Base Andrews, of course, is home to Air Force One.
Blocked. Kick is blocked. And Denver's going to get the ball in great position.
The Orange Crush, big win last night. It wasn't offensively entertaining, but who cares? It's a win. That was the play of the game. J.L. Skinner blocked a punt late in the third, led to the winning field goal. Tyler Batty recovers it. 7 straight victories, 10-7 over the Raiders. Bo Nix, a rough night, 2 interceptions. Offense couldn't move the ball, but the defense, 6 sacks. They were incredible, and relentless pressure from Tom Jackson. Oh, wait a minute. No, that was Nick Benito.
3rd and 12.
In those awesome uniforms, by the way.
There's another one. Right on cue. Nick Benito. They come at you from every direction.
Yes, they did. Broncos 8-2. Sean Payton.
Obviously, a hard-fought win. A lot of stuff for us to cover, and yet I'm real proud of the fight. You know, give Vegas credit. They came in here. They had a real good plan. Did some things that were challenging. We got a punt. Blocked a punt on the kicking game. Our defense was fantastic. Too many penalties on offense that put us in a hole.
But they won, and Kansas City is next. Trent Sherfield wearing blue cleats looked absolutely beautiful with those orange uniforms and the stripes on the socks. Oh, my goodness. They should be required to wear those blue cleats for everyone in that uniform. At least 7 home games a year, really. 47 will host the Hungarian Prime Minister at the White House today, Viktor Orban, and DJT will talk about stopping the purchase of Russian oil as part of a pressure campaign to end the war with Ukraine. The former DOJ employee who admitted throwing a sandwich at a federal agent has been acquitted of misdemeanor assault. The not guilty verdict for Sean Dunn came Thursday after prosecutors earlier failed to get a federal grand jury to return an indictment. It was limp-wristed, weak, and a Subway. It would have been a different story if it were a Jersey Mike's sandwich, I'm sure. Production for the Ford F-150 Lightning electric pickup might be coming to an end soon. The Wall Street Journal reports the automaker is considering ceasing the pickup's production for good. It is 30 in Castle Rock and 32 in Westminster, 34 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
I am doing backflips over this. I am so excited.
You are waking up with Jeff and Bill. Blake Olson.
And listen, my view is the very visually pleasing Blake Olson right now. So, Blake, just to let you know, I can see just about everything you're doing, and I think we all wish you were wearing pants.
That's still my favorite. That is still my favorite. So well done,
In
George.
a sane state, he'd be the governor.
Yes. Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? Wow.
Instead, Jared's dancing around to music or whatever.
In his underwear. News Talk 710 KNUS.
It'll be breezy and trending a little bit cooler over the next 24 to 48 hours as another front will pass through the region. This front may produce a little bit of snow shower activity in Colorado's mountains of the north, but otherwise just cooler, breezy conditions down here along the front range. It'll be partly cloudy. We'll make the 60s today a bit breezy, low to mid-30s tonight. Brisk winds and cooler, only low to mid-50s Saturday, 20s Saturday night, a cool day, 40s and 50s Sunday. But right back into the 60s Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Tariffs, are they a tool of foreign policy? Are they taxes? Who gets to levy them? What do we do about our economy? How do we fix it? Maybe we should just keep going the way things are going, and we have cheap stuff, and we can all go work as Amazon delivery people, because that feels like the only job opportunities that are out there. And I appreciate what Donald Trump's trying to do. One, he uses tariffs as a foreign policy negotiating tool. So, for instance, with fentanyl, I am tired. I am really tired of Mexico just turning a blind eye to this. You see it out of the president. We talked about it. You have mayors down there trying to fight, but the president, who literally wants to implement hugs over bullets with these cartels. Trump saying, we're not going to have it anymore. You're going to stop killing American citizens with these drugs. And we're going to implement tariffs in order to force you to the table. So I appreciate them as a foreign policy negotiation tool. We are the biggest economy. And as a result, they have to deal with us and with tariffs, okay? Two, I'm intrigued with using it as a tool to try to offset some of the debt, $37 trillion in debt. Can we offset some of the cost on manufacturers? And I understand this argument that's always going to be passed off onto the consumer. I'm not sure that's always the case, but can it be a tool to offset the debt? I'm intrigued by that. But three, and maybe most importantly, I'm not thrilled with where we are as an economy. I think we have very serious problems. I think it's skewed by countries that take advantage of global trade, artificially pushing down the cost of their services so that manufacturing has essentially left this country. And we've just become a country of consumers. So we have problems. I don't see Donald Trump willy-nilly just throwing tariffs around. All right? I see him as trying to address economic problems. And all I've heard, Mr. Thorpe, is, well, there's not much we can do. And this train's just going to kind of chug along down the tracks the way it's always been. Get used to it. What do we do to address these problems if not tariffs? Your response, Mr. Thornton.
What are define the problems for me that tariffs are fixing? What are the problems directly that tariffs fix?
I don't believe that the global market is fair. I just don't. I think it's artificially pushed down.
What do you mean by fair?
I don't think we play all at the same levels. And so you have countries that manipulate the global trading system in order to produce steel, for instance, that's cheaper than what could be done here in America. And that sabotages American jobs. So I think the challenge that's got to be addressed is that the trading system, the global trading system, is just not fair.
Again, how are we defining fair? That's what I can't wrap my head around, because the idea, is fair that everybody charges the same amount? Is it fair? What would be in your mind fair as far as, how do you determine that? And how is it not something that is just emotionally based?
So if a country artificially pushes down prices, right, by subsidizing an industry, for instance, let's do medicine is another example of that, right, here in this country, where pharmaceutical companies are making 75% off their profits off of Americans versus what happens in other countries, okay? Who then steps in to try to rectify that? And is it Congress? So take steel, take medicine, take lots of other products that are out there. The car manufacturing that takes place, okay? Where you have jobs that are now being, like what Ross Perot was right, the giant sucking sound of jobs heading down to Mexico.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay? Well, then who steps in to rectify this?
Well,
do you think Congress is the group that should do it? And do you trust Congress to do so?
I would trust Congress more than I would trust a singular president, regardless of the party. Just in general, I would. Now, the issue is, I understand the idea of the giant sucking sound, but what we were smart enough to realize is what we talked about in the previous segment, that there was an integration of automotive manufacturing across Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. That's how it fixed. Yes. It was.
That's good.
Yeah,
okay.
and it brought. And
I disagree with
you. Well, okay, that's fine. But it worked. It worked, and it was seeing a growth in some manufacturing jobs, and I think it works really well. I am a free trade proponent. I think free trade helps almost everybody involved. I understand the idea of tariffs, but I have yet to be convinced that the problem is all of these companies out there subsidizing what they're manufacturing and what they're doing for the U.S.'s detriment. Because when you use the idea of the medicine and pharmaceuticals, some of that is the function of government and their healthcare system. And so that would be
right.
Yeah, so that's not the idea that they're. But hang on, the idea is not that these other countries are subsidizing medicine and the manufacturing of the pills in order to make them more expensive here in America. That's not really what it is. The subsidization mostly happens inside of China. And during Trump's steel tariffs, we didn't see a great boom coming back from the steel manufacturing in America. And also didn't make U.S. steel less expensive, because U.S. steel immediately raised their prices to be right below the China tariffs. So it increased the price of U.S. steel in America. So it didn't functionally do anything that you were talking about, it being able to. That's the issue. The fix you're looking for can't be accomplished through tariffs. That's it.
Okay. So do you believe that trade can be artificially manipulated?
Yes.
Okay. Who addresses that?
What do you mean by who addresses? I don't understand what you mean.
So let's say you just conceded the point that trade
of course it
can be artificially manipulated.
Yeah.
Okay. Now maybe we need to simplify this more. Can that affect Americans?
Possibly.
Okay. So in some cases it can, it can't, right?
If we're not buying the products, if we're not doing it, then it wouldn't matter.
Right. I mean, we can't.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not impact it. It may not impact us at all.
We have the freedom to say no. Okay.
Well, not to say no. We may not even be buying the product. I mean, it might be if it's.
In some cases,
if you have a market manipulation of cow gallbladders being added to soup, we're not have a huge market for that, so it doesn't matter.
But
it doesn't matter.
That seems like a.
Well, you're trying to
like
operate.
A straw man.
I know. No. You're trying to operate in blacks and whites, and it's not.
No. Okay.
It's not. That's the issue.
You conceded that trade can be manipulated.
Yes.
And it can affect Americans.
Yes.
So what do we do about it?
Who's doing the manipulation?
I don't know. Anybody.
Well, that kind of matters.
Anybody. Like if it happens. So just give me examples. Give me examples of how it can be addressed. How that trade manipulation can be addressed.
Hang on. I don't even know what the trade manipulation is yet. You're asking me to solve a problem I have no details on.
Just make up any example.
No, I'm not. Your examples. No, your examples. No, this is your premise. I'm asking about it. And the thing that we talk about is that there are gray areas inside of this. Mm-hmm. And the idea of it depends on what the manipulation is, who's doing it, what the products are, and how. There are a whole series of larger things that aren't necessarily black and white.
Give me an example of how it could be addressed in your mind.
Again, I don't have an example, so I'm not working. I don't know. Again, I don't know what we're dealing with, so I can't come up with an example of how to deal with something that doesn't exist. So I'm asked to solve a problem
that doesn't
have
it does exist. I asked you if trade manipulation exists. You said yes. I asked you if it affects Americans. You said yes.
Yes.
And then I asked you how should we do it, and you said I don't know if it exists.
No, I don't know what we're talking about, because the idea is there are large things. It's the idea.
So let's just throw an example.
Okay,
good. Let's do steel.
That. Okay, and so we're doing the China
manipulation
thing.
from China.
Yeah.
So China is artificially pushing down steel prices in the United States. Or in the global market, the United States responds to that. What should be done in that example?
There are a couple of things that should be done. What I would do is try to cut China out of the global steel market. And what I would do is work with other countries that not only provide but also buy. And this is the idea where you go back to an everybody but China trade policy, which was something that Trump spiked in his first term. That's the idea, is I would start working with other nations and say, listen. That? It would be the president and Congress. Because
President
all those,
and Congress?
Yeah, because Congress would have to okay any of those bills.
And you expect Congress to be able to figure that out?
That's their job. And here's
But they
the idea.
don't do their job.
But hang on a second.
I mean, we complain about that all the time. They don't
absolutely.
do their job. So
I
I'm
know,
dealing with
but
realities here.
I know, but we can deal with reality, but the reality is we can vote them out. And the other thing is I am not willing to give the president more authoritarian power because I think Congress is broken. I am not going to break the system of American governance because I'm unhappy that Congress can't get their crap together. I'm not willing to break the system.
Okay. So, I mean, it goes back to my original point. We just kind of are the train that just chugs along the path, same way it's always been. So if that's the case, then I just don't see the point of the complaints. I don't see the point of the complaints about our economy. I mean, I hear it all the time. I hear it from you. I hear it from our listeners. Things are so expensive. We can't live the same way we used to. All that other stuff.
How does tariffs fix that? Tell me that. Because if your idea is the idea that this is unaffordable, how do tariffs fix that?
Sure. Okay. So as I've laid out, I believe that trade is being manipulated. I don't believe that the global trading system is free and fair and is a free market. I think that bad actors manipulate it and it directly affects us. So my question is then, how do we fix it? How do we address it? And in this case, I understand this is why I'm a little torn, because I don't want a strong executive, but I think the legislative branch is wildly incompetent, can't get anything done. So if what I'm left with is a continuing worsening economy with less and less opportunity for Americans, or Donald Trump, who I think is actually a very talented negotiator, has the power to go out there and try to rectify problems with the global free trade agreements that we have, I'm willing to give him that power. Because the only other alternative I've heard today is we're just going to keep going down this track. Give us a call. Would love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. Tariffs, are they working? And if not, what do we do? And if we can't adjust it, should we just get comfortable with the way things are? Give us a call, text us, be a part of the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Supreme Court hearing arguments as to whether or not Trump's tariffs are constitutional or if it has to run through Congress. The crux of the issue is, are tariffs a tax? And if that's the case, then it falls under the the legislative branch. If it's a form of foreign policy negotiation in the midst of a crisis, like we're having in this country with regards to manufacturing, then can the president step in and invoke his authority under the International Emergency Economics Powers Act? Text messages coming in. This one from 0459. Tariffs are Trump's most ridiculous idea. It shows how he lacks any economic thought. They're a pass-through cost paid for by consumers. What company has thought in the last year, wow, with those tariffs in place, we'll just start manufacturing here because those tariffs will be permanent? Well, according to the New York Times, reshoring, which is bringing back the supply chain back here to the country, is at its highest level in 40 years. And the increased investment, spending on factory construction has more than doubled since 2021. You have high-tech manufacturing as well as automotive industry bringing back manufacturing here. Like I said, this has reached a level that hasn't been seen in 40 years. But all I hear from those opposed to tariffs is, we're just going to go back to the way things are. And they don't really have a plan to address some of the challenges we're facing with our economy. Am I wrong? Give me a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's go to Dave in Denver. Good morning, Dave. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. Hey, three things. Number one, guys, I'm not excited about your new bumper music.
Okay, we'll pass that along. We'll pass that along to the powers that be.
Number two is are tariffs essentially a user fee, a user tax?
Yeah, and then
that's the argument that some are
yeah.
making. Yeah.
Okay, if that's the case, and this goes against Trump, how could we use that same argument for the fees that are assessed by a state, i.e. Colorado, to try to get rid of Tabor?
Oh, see, I agree with you, Dave, that I believe that our legislators are playing a shell game, or maybe better to say a semantic game, when they say fees instead of taxes. And I really wish that the court system would look at it, in my mind, with open eyes and realize it is only semantics, that when it functionally does the same thing, the word is irrelevant at that point. And I wish the courts, in my mind, would wake up and agree with you and I. Yeah, I think they're making an end around Tabor, and it pisses me off every year.
Yep. So if this loses, if the tariff battle goes against Trump, and I'm thinking those semantics could be used locally as well.
Got a question for you, Dave. If we were going to give Polis, should we, instead of giving the Colorado legislative branch the power to raise those fees that we all look at as taxes, should Polis just be able to do it based on his executive authority? Because that's what Trump is saying. Would you say that Polis, the governor, should be given that type of authority?
And Bill, I'm agreeing with you here in that, damn it, the legislature should do their job. And no, it shouldn't be up to the king to do it. And I'm not thinking of Trump as a king or anything, but it is. It is focusing power on. It's focusing too much power in one area and on one person, and it's it's that kid with the magnifying glass on the anthill.
Let's make sure our examples are equal here, because if you're going to look at the fees applied in Colorado and compare them to tariffs here, I would argue is a more apropos comparison. Jared Polis wants to help the green chili production of Colorado, so he is going to place a tariff upon New Mexico and the sale of their green chilies into Colorado. And would it be a tax? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess if you continue to buy New Mexican green chili,
Yeah. If you
But
buy
is
hatches
is
versus-
that a tax on Coloradans versus a general fee that applies to everybody when he's trying to bolster the green chili industry here in Colorado?
It would be a tax on me, the taxpayer, if I want to buy. I forget. Is it Hatches or Pueblo green chilies that are grown in New Mexico? Which one or the other?
The Hatch are in New Mexico. Pueblo chilies are different. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if I choose, and honestly, it's because of their crop. I'm pretty particular with my green chili. If I choose this year to go with Hatches and it's taxed more, or there's fees assessed, tariffs assessed with it, they're going to be passed on to me. So I, the consumer, am paying it, not the manufacturer, not anybody else. So that's why we're having record tariff profits right now, is because the American consumer isn't hurt enough yet.
I feel like, and I understand it's addressing the market forces, but I don't think it's just simply easy enough to say, well, it's a tax the same way a fee or a tax across everybody in the state would be, especially when you're trying to help industries. You're representing your own farmers, and you're trying to bolster the development in your community. I just don't see it. I just don't think we can just simply dismiss it and say, well, it's just a tax. But, Dave, we got to get to a break. Appreciate the call. Give us a call. Dave's line's open, 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Tony, you're up next. This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Trump's tariffs, and I want to stay with the Jared Polis green chili example because I think it's apropos. Let's set up a scenario where the farmers in Colorado are struggling. Their ability to purchase or sell green chili has been affected by New Mexico artificially pushing down the cost to purchase their green chilies because they want Colorado restaurant owners to buy them. So New Mexico's pushing down and artificially adjusting the cost of the New Mexico green chili. Jared Polis, seeking to defend his farmers, implements a tariff on those. If he does that, is that a tax? And if it's not Jared Polis's ability to do that, should that reside with the legislature? And do you trust the legislature to be able to do that? And if you're a global free trade guy, would you even want that to begin with? Let's go to the phone lines. Tony Littleton. Good morning, Tony. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Court case. There are times when the president will be compelled to try and set up a tariff. And the example would be, say, China is dumping steel. Then Trump wants to put a tariff on it. Well, that should still come through Congress, and he should work through Congress. He's not. And the court is very clear. I mean, you know, if you read or the transcript or you heard the comments, you know, they know it's a tax. There's no doubt that it's a tax. It's definitely an Article 1 responsibility. I'm guessing Trump is going to lose this battle because it belongs with them, not with him. And he's done so many arbitrary things
yeah, but Tony, I understand that okay, so we're going to go with Congress. And you think Congress can do this? I mean, they can't even keep the government running right now. And yet, with all the different products, all the potential different tariffs, you expect them to be the one to manage it? I just don't see it. All right, we'll continue the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks for the call, Tony. This is Denver's talk leader. We are KNUS.